Italians look down on Carlos Alcaraz, let's see how long it lasts. Vincenzo Santopadre, Italian coach, applauds the recent successes of the Mercian, even comparing him to the Big Three, although he doubts that his good run will last much longer. Carlos Alcaraz's winning streak seems to have no end. The world #1 tennis player has already accumulated 12 consecutive victories in this 2026, in addition to 2 more tournaments added to his resume, one of them being the long-awaited Australian Open. For the moment, Carlos has no rival. Not even Jannik Sinner himself has been able to face the Spaniard after falling in the semi-finals and quarter-finals in Melbourne and Doha respectively, while going through a slump. Despite this, in Italy it seems that, despite Carlitos' success, they do not fully believe in his performance and expect it to end as soon as possible. Alcaraz wins and has fun, but let's see how long it lasts. He likes what he does, says Vincenzo Santopadre, Italian coach, in statements to Super Tennis. The Italian coach has praised Alcaraz's game and his ability to take advantage of low moments to bounce back higher, although he stresses that at some point his level will drop. Alcaraz has also matured in the way he faces difficulties. He won complicated matches in Australia against Djokovic and Zverev, but will it last? Adds Santopadre. Overall, the former coach of Matteo Berrettini compares his current status with that of the famous Big Three and believes he could match them, although he sees it as an unknown. Finally, Vincenzo highlighted that Alcaraz now thrives in difficulties, and continues to wait for him to decline in favor of his compatriot. You can see that he enjoys being on court, training and playing a tournament. But the only question mark is how long all of this will last, concludes the Italian coach. Alcaraz announces his biggest change within the professional circuit. After the veto in Melbourne, the men's circuit authorizes performance devices on court. The technology could be used in Indian Wells. Doubts invaded both social media and the circuit itself when, in the middle of the Australian Open, the world #1 was asked to remove his Whoop bracelet prior to the start of his round of 16 match against Tommy Paul. A decision that, although it was not to the Mercian's liking, did not unsettle him enough to prevent his victory, 7-6, 6-4 and 7-5. The hypotheses were diverse, from fears of communication with the betting sector, to technological doping or improper technical measurements, all of this compounded by the lack of certification of certain products. In Hoop's case, far from dramatizing the situation when finding themselves in the media spotlight, they took advantage of the controversy to carry out a publicity move. They sent smart technical clothing to figures such as Sinner, Sabalenka and Alcaraz himself so they could continue measuring their data. After analyzing the situation and once the controversy cooled down, the men's circuit has made its position official through a statement. The board has approved a rule that expands the range of permitted wearable device providers and authorizes their on-court use by players in ATP competitions. In this way, the reigning Australian Open champion will be able to continue setting trends with devices that, from now on, are no longer part of the list of prohibited accessories. What changes with the rule implemented by the ATP? The devices, usually monitoring bracelets, record heart rate, workload, recovery and sleep quality. That information not only helps the player's physical team, but also feeds analysis that optimizes planning. The ATP justified the change by the rise of data analysis in high-performance sport. The new regulation will apply immediately and the first tournament in which these monitoring bracelets can be seen will be the Masters 1000 in Indian Wells. The measure seeks to regulate their use and broaden the range of authorized providers, thus limiting disputes between officials and technical teams before matches. The initial controversy, however, had an unexpected effect. It increased Hoop's visibility. Its founder, Will Ahmed, spoke out to defend the device and stated, "It is approved by the International Tennis Federation and poses no security risk. Let athletes measure their bodies. Data are not steroids." The permission for monitoring bracelets closes one discussion about technology on court and opens another, how to manage information without altering competitive equality. For the ATP, it is about adapting the regulations to tools that are already part of preparation and that also provide a more professional and scientific framework to the circuit. Zverev revives the controversy with Alcaraz in Australia. He had a small physical break. The German does not forget the match against the Mercian in the semi-finals in which moments of desperation were experienced in a match of almost 5.5 hours. What a match we experienced just a month ago between Carlos Alcaraz and Alexander Zverev. An Australian Open semi-final that ended with an astonishing 6-4, 7-6, 6-7, 6-7 and 7-5 in a match lasting 5 hours and 27 minutes. The German reappeared at the ATP in Acapulco after a month of rest following that hard blow, defeating Corentin Moutet in the first round and recalling in the press conference that unforgettable battle against the Mercian. Zverev engages in self-criticism about Australia. "I think in Australia I played the right way. I lost the match against Alcaraz because I got tired at the end, being honest. I had nothing left in the tank at 5-4. I remember on the first point of that game I should have hit the ball much earlier, but to do that you have to move and I couldn't do it, Alexander Zverev explained to the media. One must not overlook the conflict that was generated during the match. The German, when Alcaraz was treated during the third set of the encounter for vomiting and cramps, an angry Zverev could not avoid shouting, "He has cramps. What is this nonsense? He can't go to the doctor, he has cramps. What else could it be? This is complete nonsense. Nonsense. This is unbelievable." These shouts at the chair umpire were added to how he implied that the Australian Open favoured both Carlos Alcaraz and Sinner, who experienced a similar situation. With recharged batteries after the setback with Carlitos, all the back and forth about the cramps and the prohibition on being treated in the middle of a match was something that generated much talk, but Zverev has already forgotten it. The world number 4 arrived in Acapulco with a different attitude. "I didn't play at all after the Australian Open. I took some time off and had good training sessions, because I want to continue playing in a certain way and with a specific style, and that requires quite a lot of training and adjustments. For me it's a very different game from last year, I'm trying new things. I arrived here several days ago, so I've had time to train and to try to have a good tournament." Although luck does not seem to be on his side, since in the round of 16 he fell to Kekmanovic in a tight 3-set match in which the German had the candy in his mouth after finishing 3-6, 7-6, 3, and 6-7, 7. Alcaraz stands firm and responds to Sinner's threat. The rivalry that sustains modern tennis has added a new chapter off the courts. With Roland Garros 2026 looming on the horizon, Jannik Sinner has not hidden his hunger for glory, openly declaring his intention to dethrone Carlos Alcaraz in his own backyard. However, the Spaniard, far from entering into an exchange of fire, has responded with a philosophy of steel. In an appearance that exuded serenity, the Mercian made it clear that his radar does not detect others' movements. For Carlitos, tennis has ceased to be a pursuit of records and has become a celebration of health. "I've been injured, and in that time when you're out of competition, you miss it. You realize how beautiful it is. That's why, once I can do it, it's time to stop thinking about the rest and think about how lucky I am," Alcaraz confessed. This statement is not just a diplomatic phrase, it is a declaration of intent. After having tasted the bitter flavor of injury layoffs, Alcaraz has reset his mindset. The poison of competition is now managed from enjoyment, a psychological tactic that is usually more lethal than any inside-out forehand. The assault on the clay throne. While the tennis world anticipates a collision in Paris, Alcaraz keeps a steady pulse. His goals for 2026 are clear: the Masters 1000 and the Grand Slams. But above trophies, his great objective is absolute dominance through happiness on court. "Even if I lose a point or a match, you will see me happy because I love competing," declared the number 1. Sinner wants the throne, but Alcaraz has built a mental wall where there is only room for his own tennis. The battle for Roland Garros has already begun, and it is not being played with rackets, but with the mind. How much money would Carlos Alcaraz pocket if he lifts the title in Indian Wells? The ATP has made public the prize money for the Indian Wells tournament, the first Masters 1000 of the season. The best players in the world will meet once again in Indian Wells, from March 4 to 15. The facilities of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden will host, as usual, the first Masters 1000 of the season, a tournament that players love and that all the great legends of this sport have won at some point. Federer, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2012 and 2017, and Djokovic, 2008, 2011, 2014, 2015 and 2016, have each won it 5 times. Rafa Nadal has 3 titles in the Californian desert, 2007, 2009 and 2013, and Jimmy Connors and Michael Chang also conquered it in 3 editions. Carlos Alcaraz has already triumphed twice in Indian Wells, 2023 and 2024, appearing on the list of players with 2 titles, which includes players of the caliber of Jim Courier, Boris Becker, Lleyton Hewitt or Pete Sampras. The current champion and defending title holder is the Briton Jack Draper, who defeated Alcaraz last year in the semi-finals. And as in every ATP tournament, there will also be substantial prize money for all players. Carlos Alcaraz, champion this year of the Australian Open and the ATP 500 in Doha, leads earnings this season with more than $3 million, specifically a total of $3,301,730. The Mercian, in tremendous form, will seek in Indian Wells his 3rd title of the year and to keep adding money to his bank account. The ATP has already made public the prize money for Indian Wells 2026 and the winner will take home $1,151,380. The finalist will pocket $612,340. while the semi-finalists will earn $340,190. Reaching the quarterfinals carries a prize of $193,645. The rest of the prize money will be distributed as follows. Fourth round, $105,720. Third round, $61,865. Second round, $36,110. First round, $24,335.